This is Joseph Fasano, and welcome to the American Poem. No verse is free, T.S. Eliot wrote, and what he meant is that each poem must find the forms inevitable for its expression. In his brief poem, When I Heard the Learned Astronomer, Walt Whitman, a father of American free verse, meditates on freedom, structure, and form. The poem's speaker is frustrated by having to sit in a lecture hall and listen to a professor profess about the stars. What he wants instead is to step out into the mystical, moist night air, to experience the stars, without the structure of explanation. In that way, the poem might seem a criticism of structure, with a particularly American attitude toward structure and form, which we might imagine are always externally imposed. And yet what's interesting is the very structure of the poem. After its first line, it ranges into cadences we might expect of Whitman, lines that would certainly not fit in, say, the paradigm of iambic pentameter. What's fascinating, though, is what happens when the speaker reaches the end of the poem. Gliding out into the night, he looks up at the stars, presumably free of the lecturer's imprisoning forms. And yet when he speaks in his apparent freedom, he expresses himself in a line of such rhythmic regularity that it would not be out of place in, say, an English sonnet. That should give us pause. Whitman's poem is implying that in our moments even of utmost solitude, we are governed by forms within and without, forms that have their origins in society and in the innate structures within us. Robert Hayden's Those Winter Sundays speaks its structure with similar subtlety. After the repetition of the phrase, "What did I know?" see if you can hear the structure in the final line, a line that speaks of the dignity, imprisonment, and freedom of abiding by the laws we live by. Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. Sundays, too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then, with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made banked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold, splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house, speaking indifferently to him, who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices?